And this is the three S's of mindset today. Out of the last market crash, 25.9 million people earned millionaire status. I Googled this morning because I was very interested in it. And you can see that in 2012, that was right, that was market crash time. We had 25.6 million millionaires. And today, 2022, we now have 51.5. So this is the season when millionaires are made. So let's go over 4 mindset points about millionaires. They executed quickly. During a downturn in the market, one of the most important things that you can do is execute quickly. This isn't planning. This isn't procrastinating. This is jumping in and executing quickly. So that means prospect, pick up the phone. If there is something that's not working anymore, shift and change. One of the things that I'm most thankful for in being in a smaller company is the fact that we can execute things very quickly when things start to turn.
Doubling down on the fundamentals. Interestingly enough, like most things, they don't change. There are 5 things that make you money in the game of real estate. And it's, hunting for new business every day. It's following up on any leads, any and all leads. And this has been a challenge, right? As I've been hitting prospecting, I've come into a couple of people that are a little harder to get a hold of, but continuing the follow up has gotten me additional appointments. I had one Spanish speaker refer a friend to me this last week. So doubling down on the fundamentals. So, prospect, lead follow up, going on as many appointments as possible. And guys, I've been on 6 appointments this week without a listing signed yet. When I say yet, we've got a lot of divorces that were going on, but anyways, negotiating is shifting, right? It's negotiating price reductions on your listings and being able to develop that skill set. Melody's got a slide we'll talk about here in a second on that, but it's being able to negotiate price reductions in this kind of a market, and then education, right? It's important to figure out what's working in today's market. It's a new market for all of us. Melody and I have never been through anything like this. There are some similarities, but this is a more challenging market than even the one that we faced in 2006 for a lot of different reasons. So prospect, lead follow-up, appointments, negotiations, and education are absolutely critical in this time.
You know, it's interesting that you say that we've never been through anything like this before. And I remember specifically last time we were looking over the edge and we didn't really know what to expect. But the one thing that we knew was that doubling down on the fundamentals, the prospect lead follow up appointments, negotiating contracts, and your skill set education, those were the things that actually got us through. And so when we say double down on the fundamentals, that's why we have the open door policy. That's why we are focused on doubling down. Doubling down to us means 3 hours on the phone again. It's not glamorous. It
No, it's
isn't.
not sexy and it's not painful either. You just have to
No.
approach it with the right thoughts in your head. I think that helps. So.
Yep, exactly. They continued to work and change the model for the current market. And that's exactly what I'm saying is, last market, we could throw some things on social media. We could do some online leads. We could do a few things and we could survive. We could actually thrive. And today we're changing the model so that we are now being more proactive, more aggressive in our outreach to people.
All right. Looking at the market as an opportunity and not as a risk. We hear this from our mentors all the time. The world is conspiring to give you everything that you want. Right. And oftentimes we resist it due to, just the way that we approach it. But if you can consider this the greatest opportunity of your real estate career, there's going to be a lot of people getting out of the business. There are. In fact, the last numbers I heard was somewhere in the neighborhood of 60,000 people had gotten out of the real estate business over the last 2 years. If you break that down by 50 states, that's like 10,000, or I guess it's not quite, it's about 1,000 people plus per state that have already left the industry. Now we're replacing them. There are still people getting into the business, but you're going to see more and more people leaving This is the opportunity. There's down cycles in every market. Typically, it's during the wintertime is a little bit of a down cycle. Down cycles are where it's separation time, according to Ed Milet, and it really is. You gain market share during down cycles. This could be a significant down cycle in the industry, which means it's a significant opportunity to gain market share if you're following the principles that we're trying to teach you, which is doubling down on the fundamentals, right? So look at it as an opportunity. It's the greatest opportunity of your real estate career. Are you going to look back in 5 years and go, oh, I just wish? Or is this going to be the time where you separate yourself from your competition?
Yep. It's definitely an opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the areas that we're going to focus. These are the three S's: skills, standards, and strategy.
So skills are simply a series of conversations, dialogues, and techniques that help you move forward. What we are looking for, and this is one of the reasons that Melody and I have really dived into Glover U, is because the leaders in that group are actually in the business doing it and having a ton of success right now. So we're out looking for, hey, who's winning in this market? I'm looking at, and you guys may recognize some of these names or something like that, who started out the year knocking it out of the park. And over the last 6 months has seen a significant decrease in market share. Why is that? Well, it's because the model that they were following wasn't fundamentally sound. And now they're paying for it because they're having to do catch up. So we're out looking for who's winning in this market and how can I do similar things that they're doing? Conversations, dialogues, and techniques. We're working on scripts because guess what, guys? In 1985, I was 13 years old. The last time that we had a market affordability problem like the one we're seeing today, I was 13 years old. It was 1985, and I'm over 50 now. When I say we've never seen anything like this, we're experiencing objections, we're experiencing conversations that we've never seen before. On top of everything else that's going on in the real estate industry with the shift in how we're doing business with buyers and how we're communicating our value, we're having to learn new objection handlers, new scripts, new dialogues. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing that. So doubling down on your skill set.
Standards are a set of disciplines, rituals, and routines that align with your goals. We've been talking a lot about your schedule and about the habits that you're creating and the routines. And when you create a structure where you've got discipline, you've got the habits, and you've got the routines, success can become natural. That again is why we are blocking off that 8 to 11 time frame because it is so important to keep that structure. If you have a structured morning, all hell can break loose in the afternoon. You might be pulled from here to there to here, and it doesn't really matter because you have done the most important thing that you can in the morning time, and that is hunt for new business.
Before we jump into the next section, one of the most impactful conversations I probably had in my real estate career was back when I was at Century 21. There's a guy named Rob Adams in our market. You guys may recognize Rob. He always gets a lot of TV time around this time because he created the nonprofit Thanksgiving Heroes, where they give turkeys to needy families at this time of year. And they have a ton of, people donate a ton of money. He's the one that put that together. But I was talking to Rob in the hallway one afternoon, and he brought up something called his non-negotiables. And he said, and this is just, rituals and disciplines. He said, Rod, here is my list. And he had like 8 things on the list. It wasn't huge. And he said, I will never quit a day in real estate until I've done everything on this list. These are my non-negotiables. This is, and obviously it was designed around the fundamentals, but I always looked up to Rob for that because I thought it was brilliant. Sometimes our schedules get in the way. Sometimes our kids get in the way. Sometimes we got all kinds of obligations, especially at this time of year. But if you approach the day with, these are my non-negotiables. This is what I'm going to accomplish today. These are the most important things. And I'm not going to quit the day of real estate until I've done these. Sometimes I have to do them at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes I have to do them at 7 o'clock in the afternoon. For some of us, it could be hitting the gym. For some of us, it could be listening to a podcast. For all of us, it should be I'm going to make outbound phone calls or reach out. I'm not going to let one of my lead follow up hot leads go without me reaching out to them. What are your non negotiables that you're going to put together? What are your disciplines? What are your rituals that are going to improve every aspect of your life? Tracking and measuring. I sat down with my youngest son, Brock, and had a conversation because his life was kind of stagnant. He wasn't moving himself forward. He wasn't happy with his job. And we put a set of disciplines in place of tracking his time, tracking his money. Everything in his life began to change almost instantly. And it was just by instituting a couple of non negotiables or a couple of disciplines. All right. Sorry. That
Yeah,
was
about 30 days, and we on the outside, we saw a huge change in Brock. It was very quick, and so that is very inspiring to see how quick that change can be just by putting a set of standards in place with discipline, strategy.
strategies, set of processes, systems, and people designed to have you operate at a higher level of efficiency. So one of the most amazing pieces of our organization, right, is Melody has created a checklist for listings. She created a checklist for working with sellers. She created a checklist to work with buyers from contract to close, how to create a client for life. All of those things are part of the strategy that gives us an advantage. It's something that I've never been able to put together myself. I wasn't disciplined enough, and we've aligned ourselves with some really talented, amazing, disciplined people. Diana is about as good as it comes with, detail, structure, organization, and follow up. Sometimes she's not as fluffy or friendly, and it doesn't matter because she's damn good at what she does. Avery. And you notice we tried a few different people on that didn't work, but you look at Avery, and Avery has absolutely talent. He's efficient. He knows how to put some stuff together and make it look good. He's constantly looking at improving himself as well. I'm really proud of that. The other processes are, what are your strategies to make sure that you can win? What are your systems? Do you have anything? We've got a lot of stuff that is just simply plug and play. Is there anybody else in your life that you might need to add? Whether it's a coach and a personal trainer, whether it's a friend that is going to hold you accountable. And look, here's the kind of friends that are nice to go drinking with that don't move your life forward. They always tell you what you want to hear. They make you feel important. Those people are important in your life, right? You know what the most valuable friendships I have? The guy that calls me and goes, Rod, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, I'm watching you gain weight, or I'm watching you kind of separate from what you talked about. I had a friend call me out on my social media posts about a week ago, right? And I'm still struggling with it. But having those kinds of friends that go, hey, I thought this was important to you. What's going on, man? Is there anything I can do to support you? Those are the kind of friends that you want to have, the people that will actually call you on your shit when you're not doing the stuff that you're committed to do, right? So who's missing in your life? What are the people? What are the processes? What are the systems that you can add to make sure that success is guaranteed?
You must discipline yourself or the market will discipline you. This is social proof. If you don't take this on, then you won't be in the business because that's how hard it is going to be. But discipline, when you are a disciplined real estate agent, you gain true freedom. Discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, it's a shift, right? Discipline was
Yep.
always a bad thing when we were growing up. Our parents disciplined us when we did something wrong. This is a matter of just creating those rituals and sticking to it, right?
Yeah,
What are
and
the
this is disciplining yourself, not having somebody else do it, and that's the difference between now and being a kid, right? You must discipline yourself.
set your own boundaries? Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So Melody heard me talk about this because, we're talking to some amazing people at the event in Scottsdale that we went to a week and a half ago or whatever. And they said, Rod, what's going on? Right? Like, what's happening in your world? And I said, here's the problem. I've heard it all before. I'm not doing it. So what do we need to do to make sure that if we know it, that we're actually doing it? I know that I'm supposed to eat more protein in my diet. I know I'm supposed to eat a little bit less carbs than what I'm eating. I know I'm supposed, there's all these things that I know I'm supposed to do. So if I know it, why am I not doing it? And the consequences are pretty severe. How many people went to a doctor and the doctor said, if you don't stop eating French fries, you're going to die of a heart attack? And how many of those people actually stop? The consequences are you're going to die. You're literally holding a gun to your head and they still won't do it. Right. So knowing is one thing, implementing is another. What do you have to put into place? For Melody and I, it was hiring a coach and an expensive coach, right? In a market challenging our purse strings. And we said, it's important enough to have somebody hold us accountable that I'm willing to make that sacrifice because that gun with the bullet in my head, right? If I don't figure out how to make some money and pay for my coach, is not going to be comfortable. So that was something that helped me to track and measure and do those things. So, anyways, is there
So
anything?
for you, what are you implementing, Rod?
Mine is number tracking, which I notice when I get away from number tracking, it's easier for me not to prospect.
Oh,
And when I'm
interesting.
tracking every single day and punching something into my spreadsheet, I never want to go in and have a zero, right? So tracking for me is absolutely critical.
Okay. Bree, how about you? What can you implement this week?
That's my same thing as Rod, completely stopped tracking my numbers. And so I'm going to get back to that this week because I don't know why, but I just had like a mental shutdown. I just stopped tracking. So, and then Rod is right. Like it's just not motivating to prospect when you haven't been tracking your numbers because you don't have anything to base it on, but you got to start over.
Yeah.
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 And I had to start over. And my numbers don't look anything like what I was used to because it's a different market and I've got to learn new skills. So
Great. How about you, Betsy?
As you were talking, I think the best thing I can do this week is the night before plan my next day. So have my next day all scheduled out. That is the quickest way to get me to be productive.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Good.
And I love that, Rod, that you brought up Rob Adams and his non-negotiables. I think it's really important for me to put into place a few non-negotiables. I've been putting new things in place since we went to Jeff's event, but I didn't make them non-negotiable. And that's what I'm committed to doing this week is making a few of those non-negotiable.